Okay, hi guys. My name's June. I'm gonna try to talk into the mic so we can get a recording. My presentation is on beetle kill recovery. So I'm gonna talk about what beetle kill is, how beetles infect trees. I'm gonna give you some stats so you can get a sense of how severe it is. And then we're gonna talk about how beetle kill is recovering and what we can do to help. So to start off, what is beetle kill? Bark beetles are these tiny, like rice grain sized little beetles, and there are lots of different kinds. The main kind that kills trees around Colorado are mountain pine beetles and spruce bark beetles, and also the Engelmann spruce beetles. And basically, beetle kill refers to any conifers that have been infected by these beetles and killed. And however tiny these beetles are, they can kill thousands of trees, and they have. So it's very deadly. Now, the natural life cycle of bark beetles has been compatible with Colorado's forests for however long these beetles have existed, so for decades. But mountain pine beetles are an invasive species that traveled over from Asia on wood packaging, and they were introduced to Colorado in about 2003, which is close to when the problem started. Climate change has also turned bark beetles into a huge problem because now that weather is warmer, bark beetles can have two life cycles in 1 year instead of just one. So originally, they would start out as larvae, and when warm weather started, the beetles would emerge from trees and the adults would burrow into new trees and form out passages and lay their eggs there. And then winter would cut off their life cycle. So it was like a balance between the bark beetles and the trees, and it was healthy until climate change happened. And now bark beetles are very deadly because there are much, much more. So basically, the way bark beetles kill trees is they furrow in through the bark and they eat out these passageways and chambers called galleries where they lay their eggs. And as they do this, they spread a fungus called the blue stain fungus. And this will infect the tree's sapwood and cut off its flow of nutrients. So it kills the tree very quickly in one season or less. And then the bark beetles can move on to the next tree and they leave their eggs behind in that tree. And they keep multiplying, which is why it's become such a huge problem. So bark beetles have killed many trees in recent years. You've probably seen it. If you've ever been up to Wolf Creek or any high country town, you'll see trees up there have been much thinner in recent years. And you see a lot of dead trees that aren't wildfire. That's beetle kill. A lot of the times the needles turn red and then they fall off completely, and it'll leave these gray, dark, completely dead forests that are very susceptible to wildfire. So most trees are killed by mountain pine beetles, and since outbreaks began in 1996, 41.7 million acres have been affected across the US, and 6.6 million acres have been killed by bark beetles just in Colorado. And you can see this everywhere you go. It's a huge issue. So bark beetles look like they have been getting better because since 2013, bark beetles have slowly been declining. But this is actually just because the beetles can only attack older, mature trees. So younger trees are safe. But about 20 years from now, the problem will get bad again and we'll have more bark beetle infestations. But there are things we can do to stop this. So as you can see, at its peak in 2009, there were about 3.7 million acres in Colorado affected by the mountain pine beetle. And in 2013, it dropped to about 250,000. So it has been getting better slowly, but there are things we can do to make sure it doesn't go back up again. So in recent years, studies have shown hopeful recovery for beetle kill. And a study published in the Journal of the Ecological Society of America surveyed beetle kill stands. It had 14,000 trees and more than 100 stands, so it covered most of Colorado. And it showed that 86% of the trees that were affected by beetle kill are on their way to recovery. So we're actually doing pretty good in the sense of recovery because of efforts that have been made. Beetles only attack old, mature trees, so younger trees are safe, but As I said, many years from now, the problem will get bad again when these younger trees mature and become weak. And other things are slowing down recovery. Younger trees that are regenerating these beetle kill forests are being eaten by deer and elk, so their growth is stunted and forests may not fully regrow. And some forests are even being converted into grasslands through this process. So if we're not careful, we're going to lose a lot of our alpine forest forever. However, there are things you can do to help. If you want to help stop climate change and keep the trees strong and healthy so they can fight the beetle kill, you can scan this QR code and go to POW, which is called Protect Our Winters. And they make efforts to basically, protect our winters. They fight climate change. They fight they fight acts that help climate change, and they try to pass laws that will regulate carbon. And this is another one. This is Conservation Colorado. They do similar things, except they work very locally. So if you want to help protect forests in Colorado and stop climate change in Colorado and help protect these, you can scan this one. And then this is the last one. This works in the San Juan Mountains, specifically working against beetle kill, and they help promote clean energy and clean energy acts, and they're a great one if you want to work locally. And those are the things you can do to help. Does anybody have questions? Yes? Well, there are organizations, I don't have them up here, but you can Google them. There are organizations that clear out beetle kill trees, so essentially prevent the spread. And it's really important to spot it early. So you have to look around, and there are signs of early beetle kill. Like I said, the red needles on pine trees are a really good sign of early beetle kill. And if you can isolate those stands early, it won't spread. But it's important to catch it before it spreads into large areas like it has. Yeah. Anything else? Cool. Thank you. And I'll give this to Delilah.
Okay, we have. Pop out of here. Okay, I'm going to introduce Abby or Abigail, and they are talking about the future of residential solar.
Hello all. My name is Abigail Grindstaff, and I'm a freshman at Animas High School. Today, I want not only to talk about the positive environmental impact of solar power, but also how we can apply solar power to more residential areas and make it accessible to everyone. Most homes in Durango are on average 1,000 to 3,000 square feet. Based on this data, solar power installation can cost anywhere between $5,000 and $20,000. Now wait, don't just pay attention to those numbers. Please hear me out. The government will practically pay for your solar panel install with an annual 30% tax return on your income. For example, if you live in a 2,000 square foot home and make around $50,000 a year, your yearly taxes will be around $10,000. This means you will be saving an extra $3,000 every year. Now let's say your solar panel install costs around $13,000. This means you could potentially compensate for the panel install in approximately 4 to 5 years. Not only will your electric bill be practically non-existent since your solar panel install, but you will also be able to save on heating and cooling systems. On average, a 2,000 square foot home will cost about $100 a month to heat and cool throughout the year in Colorado. This means that from the moment your solar panels are installed, you're saving $1,200 a year just in heat and cooling. Now, let's talk about your car. Most gas-powered cars in Colorado have about a 25-gallon gas tank in them. Obviously, this isn't accurate for all cars. The gas prices in Durango average out to about $3.50. Let's say that you fill up your gas tank about 6 times a month. This means you could be spending about $5,000 a year on fuel alone, not including any maintenance on your car. But compare that to an electric car. An electric car takes about 12 kilowatts a day to power. It costs about 30 cents per kilowatt to charge a car, meaning it costs around $4 a day and $1,200 a year to power. If you have an electric car, congrats, you get to save $1,200 a year. Because solar power charges your car chargers. But if you have a gas-powered car and switch to an electric car, you would be saving $3,800 a year on fuel alone. These are just a few aspects of what can improve your residential living if you invested in solar panel installation. Now, the next question I explored with this project was, how can we make solar more accessible to everyone? Right now, less than 4% of Colorado residents use solar power. Something called solar financing is a way to reduce the upfront cost and risk of investing in solar power. Solar financing can include loans, leases, and incentives. Solar financing can make solar power more affordable and accessible for low-income households who may struggle to pay for installation and maintenance of solar systems. Another option would be community solar. Community solar is a big group of solar in town, sort of like a small solar farm, that powers many businesses, households, and any other electricity customers because they can buy a share of it. This means that usually every month, they would pay for a share of the electricity coming from the shared solar panels. This can make solar power more accessible to everyone because you don't need to pay for installation and maintenance. You just buy a share of the actual electricity. I hope you have learned something by listening to my presentation, and I hope you will now consider making solar power part of your everyday lives to save our environment and our economy. Thank you. Oh, questions? Yes?
So the community solar, I've been told, is a really good idea because, like, for one thing, your house roof may not be at the perfect angle, or it might get shade from a hill or somebody's neighbor's tree or whatever. Whereas a solar farm is going to be like totally optimized, right? At an open field where it gets full sun all year, and there's somebody who like goes and sweeps the snow off when it snows in the morning and whatnot, where that doesn't happen on most rooftops. So more efficiency in the community solar idea.
Yes.
Do you know if there's opportunity for residents such as myself to buy into a solar farm around here in Plata County right now?
So as of now, I researched it a little bit, but I didn't find anything where Durango was reaching towards community solar. It's something that I've been thinking about talking to like the town about and making that an option for residents, because like you said, solar power isn't going to work for everybody's home or apartment or living space, just because you have to have such specific conditions to provide a good amount of electricity that will actually be able to power your home and for you to get a return on it. So I think it's definitely something that needs to be looked into at Durango, but it's not being done. So I think that it's definitely something that needs to start taking steps forward. Lila?
Where could you see some sort of a solar farm in Durango in the area? Like, have you like thought of any places that could work for some places like us?
Do you mean like specific like locations that you would see a solar farm?
Yeah.
So that is why I was looking at community solar, because where we live, specifically in Durango, now if you were on the Front Range where it's much more flat and open, this would be different. But where we specifically live, solar farms aren't an amazing option just because we don't have any areas like right next to us, like near our town, that are open and flat. And so community solar can be a smaller group of solar panels that can fit in smaller areas throughout Durango and on the outskirts of town. So I think that it's much more attainable for us to just start small, and then at a certain point, if different buildings didn't exist, that's always something to look into, is what would have to change structurally with our town if we wanted to support our community on solar. Yeah, Annabeth?
Do you know what the minimum size of the solar community contact is? Is there a certain square mile or square foot that they?
So specifically for solar farms, I'm not sure. They can range from any sort of size. It depends on how big of a community you're powering, how many people are in it. And so I think that's why it takes so much time to pass things like this, just because it's how many people are willing and wanting to use this. So I'm not specifically sure like the actual size of it, but I mean, they can be miles to, just hundreds of square feet. Oh, cool. Well, thank you.
Cool. I am going to introduce the Durango High School Green Team. Sweet. I'll hand it off.
Thank you. All right. If you guys, oh, yes, please do. Sorry. All right. Oh, hopefully I'll get less blurry. Sorry about that. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Aisha O'Neill. My pronouns are she, her. I am a senior at Durango High School and the president of the DHS Green Team.
Hi there, my name is Fiona Chandler. I'm a junior at Durango High School and I am the secretary.
My name is Sophia Valdez. I'm a freshman at DHS. My pronouns are she, they, and I am one of our underclassmen representatives.
My name is Annabeth Hansen. My pronouns are she, her, and I am our other underclassmen representative as a freshman at DHS.
Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. All right, so our main overarching mission at the DHS Green Team is to promote sustainability, both in our school and also in our surrounding community. And we do that in a ton of ways, as you'll hopefully see from this presentation, but mostly through community outreach like this. But Fiona will go more into depth on our specific objectives.
Okay, so we have focused on 3 main objectives. So the first one is to reduce waste at DHS. So we did that through a paper towel reduction campaign that we did. And then we have been working on that. And then we also have done a lot of trash pickups that we have tried to include more of our student body in. The second objective that we have is to create more sustainable food production, distribution, and consumption throughout La Plata County. So we've been looking specifically for DHS into a compost solution for our food waste, as well as working with other green businesses around Durango. The last of our objectives is to encourage climate education in Colorado. So we have been following and trying to help promote a climate literacy bill that would help promote education around climate in our schools in Colorado.
Our work this year, we've been focusing a lot on education. And so we've had a lot of people come into our Green Team meetings from places like MSI, the Sierra Club, and like just the city of Durango to get more education into our club members. We've also taken a lot of field trips and tours to different places to promote so we can learn more about different types of sustainability in our community. Places like Table to Farm, Durango Recycling Center, and the Center of Southwest Studies. We've also been focusing a lot on outreach into our school. So we've had like a bike to school week where we encouraged people to like bike to school or walk to school. We had a January poetry or writing contest through the whole district, which was really cool. We got to have a bunch of different winners from different like grade levels and schools. And then our sustainable rocket ship, which is our little bike float that we've had at things like homecoming, like our homecoming parade, and a Halloween like trick or trunk or something like that.
So here are some things that we've done to work towards our objectives. So for our waste reduction objective, we had a paper towel group where we talked to almost the entire student body about how important it is to reduce the waste of paper towels in our school and then take that into our community. We also do monthly trash pickups where we walk along the river trail and pick up trash to make our community even more green. For the Green Business Initiative, this is a group that has been promoting and supporting businesses in Durango, such as Zia and Cream Bean Berry, and then trying to talk to other businesses, whether it's restaurants or shops in Durango, about how they can become more sustainable and support our environment. For solar panels, this was one of our previous objectives, and these will be installed at nearly every single school in the district. Our leadership team went and talked to the school board, including Dr. Chesser at Riverview Elementary School, and we are able to say that they will be installed within the year.
Yes, and so our final objective for this year is to encourage climate education in Colorado. And Fiona started to touch on this, but we're really trying to promote that act because it would require, well, it wouldn't require students, but it would encourage students to take 2 environmentally related classes and engage in 1 environmental service project. And if students did that, they would receive a seal of climate literacy on their diploma, which would look great for college and job applications. So in order to do that, we have established a statewide network of sustainability clubs that's called Good Trouble. We're planning to carry this forward. And currently we have 9 clubs and organizations in the network, from Colorado Springs to Durango to Denver. If you're interested in learning more or joining us, you can absolutely email us at that address right there. We also have a really exciting Instagram campaign in coordination with that. We have some pictures of that on the right of our slideshow. So if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see that we're trying to create a visual representation of our support for this act, because that can be just as important as our next thing, which is our letter writing campaign, which is probably the single most important way we are supporting the Climate Literacy Act. So we're trying to write letters, to our state representatives in both the House and the Senate to encourage them to pass the climate literacy bill. If you look on our website, you'll find letter templates there and who you should email. And I really encourage every single person in this room to do that, because we do need to pass this bill to encourage the education we deserve.
Okay, so some other ways that you guys can support us is you can come and join us at our next major event. So we're having an Earth Day celebration on April 20th from 11 to 3 p.m. at Buckley Park, and we'll be having a trash pickup, an art contest, and a fashion show, as well as some other events that we are doing with some of the other clubs at our school. So if you are interested, please join us.
Other ways to support us. If you're a community member and you want to donate and become a sponsor for Green Team, that'd be super awesome, because that gives us the availability to be able to have these cool events like Earth Day, or even like coming to this and our cool field trips and stuff like that. If you are a Durango 9R student, join your school's Green Team. I know Animus doesn't have one, but maybe someday they will. And so join your school's Green Team, because if you join your school's Green Team, you can support their green, like your school and our school and like all of the schools, because we're all super interconnected. Otherwise, if you're a community member or college student with lots of like connections and stuff like that, come like talk to us, email us, like join, definitely follow our Instagram for lots of updates and stuff like that, because we think that that would be a super great way to get everyone connected in our community.
So please follow our Instagram at Green Team Durango High School. And if you have any questions that you haven't thought of quite yet, please email us at greenteamdurango@gmail.com. Otherwise, are there any immediate questions?
Yeah, you mentioned the composting. What is the current state of composting, or how did that go? Is DHS compost?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so our current situation for composting, we did a tour with the Table to Farm Compost Company. And so we talked to them a lot about how we could increase our sustainability at our school. So they have a 64-gallon container that they use for places like City Market. It's like a commercial compost kind of thing. And so we're trying to get that at DHS right now for our cafeteria. However, we have some barriers, including the cost and just where we are going to put all of this, all of the tools that we need to do that. But so far, we're trying to get that in motion, but we haven't gotten there so far.
Hopefully more next year.
Yes, hopefully more next year. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you aware of the fact that Fort Lewis doesn't have major food composting programs like what
Yeah, yep.
Absolutely, yes. We definitely need to reach more out to Fort Lewis, but next year we'll hopefully coordinate with them. We've also heard of some other schools who are doing a similar thing. Any other questions? Yes. Yay, all right, that is a great question. So if you look up DHS Green Team, it should be the first thing that pops up. It'll be our district website. Then there should be a link that says DHS website. And if you click on that, that'll take you right there. Definitely, I'll check that out. Some of our amazing freshmen have been working on that, which has been really, really cool. Anything else? Wonderful. Thank you guys so much.
Cool. I am the next presentation, so let me. Okay, so again, my name's Delilah Kronung. I go to Animus. Really, the purpose of this presentation is to give you guys an idea of what's going on in our world. So what I'm here to talk about is the amount of sewage pollution that we end up dumping into our oceans every single year. It's about 1.2 trillion gallons of natural nutrients being dumped in our oceans. And so it's kind of like this half and half, because natural nutrients sounds like a really good thing, but it's really not, because this bacteria starts to feed and this bacteria starts to grow in the water, and the water ends up getting like filled. Here, I have a photo. Give me 1 second. So this is kind of how the bacteria ends up growing. And so after we dump sewage pollution into our waters, this bacteria ends up dying and releases CO2 into our oceans. And the CO2 makes the water acidity rise and go up, which then creates like the effects of that is like bleaching of coral. The ecosystems of a lot of marine animals and life end up dying because they don't have like the I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking the word right now, but it's like they don't have this. I am totally frozen on this word. I am so sorry, but these plants and animals aren't able to survive in the water acidity. So I really want to talk about how we get to this point and why we end up releasing so much water. So it's because of flooding. So when we have a crazy storm, and on these coastal areas, we have these storm drains that end up getting filled up. You've probably seen this before, where it gets all clogged with either dirt or mud. And this all ends up going into the water treatment plant, or ends up flowing out into an ocean or a natural body of water. So what happens is our water treatment plants aren't able to hold this amount of water that we are ending up getting from climate change. And so we have to release water because of the amount that we are getting into our water treatment plants. So I want to talk about the solution to this, and one of the things that I came up with, and I got to talk to Amanda, who works with Mountain Studies Institute, about this, and how she did some wetland restoration in Silverton. So if we were to, who's been to like a coastal town or city? Most of us, right? You see a lot of where you've got the ocean and then you've got a bunch of these buildings. So let's just imagine these buildings gone. Let's imagine like kind of just a bunch of sponges, which is going to be our wetland, is what represented as our wetland. And if we were to have that much rain that we're getting, the amount of storms, that is going to be able to help filter and help like hold and store water, so that we're not getting as much water going into the water treatment plants. read. I'm sorry. This is like real. I'm talking really fast. But yeah, I really just wanted to talk about how amazing wetlands can be and how supportive they can be in our communities. Maybe not in Durango because we are a very landlocked town, but an ocean is like very important to me. So yeah, I was really excited to talk about this and really bring awareness to how much we're dumping into our oceans and how that like affects our entire ecosystem, not only us, but other animals and wildlife. So any questions? That was a little choppy, but yeah. Abby?
How would we start restoring, like what could be done to
So there is a lot that goes into this, especially if we're talking about like ocean areas where like one of my like examples was like Florida. Like if we were gonna try and get them to help us restore wetlands, it was gonna take a lot. And when I talked to Amanda about how she got the restoration wetland project up on Red Mountain Pass, there was a lot of steps that went into that. I mean, the funding, I see over there, the MSI, because I was like, I'm seeing you. I was like, but I feel like to really answer your question, there's a lot that goes into that. There's support from the community. There's a lot of funding that we would have to come up with. We'd have to come up with a lot of action towards that. Like we would need a lot of like education behind what's going on, which is why I wanted to bring this here because I want to educate y'all on how this works. And so I feel like this should be taught in schools a lot more, like in bio and how this can help us out. So yeah, it's really hard to get these kind of projects going, but if we can find the support, I think it would be great. Yeah. So it it's kind of hard. So there was a restoration project up at Purgatory, and that happened a few years ago, I think, and that ended up doing a really amazing job at helping restore all of that area that Purgatory ended up destroying, I guess, that wetland. So Purgatory, Silverton, there's not a lot that's happened. I think this is kind of new for people, but I could definitely look into that. I feel like that would be pretty cool. In the back.
I know you said like, you brought up Florida as an example and how they're trying to restore their wetlands. What do you say when you have population growth in an area like Florida and they're actually trying to drain their wetlands in order to put more housing? So what do you have any thoughts around that? And what does it say to people?
Yeah. So when I talk about Florida, I think there's not a lot going on. Like you said, with how they're trying to drain their wetlands, so they're doing the opposite of what I would like to see. My opinion on it is like I don't want that to happen. I think it's really hard to see how much they're draining and how much they're taking away from natural ecosystems. I think it's really, really, really hard to see in our communities where we don't like if we were like sucked out of our natural habitat, like how that would feel. And I think it's hard to really take a handle on that. Yeah, it's a bummer. Yeah, Mike.
What do wetland plants do that this problem? And how are they like really well adapted for like acting like a sponge? Like imagine a sponge.
Yeah, so it's just a bunch of like fibrous plants that kind of go like this, and then the water ends up flowing through, and so everything just gets stuck in between. It's like a big filtration system. And so these plants are really compacted together like a sponge, if you were to see like the different layers in a sponge and how those like all mix together. Yeah, I guess does that answer your question? Yeah, cool.
This is like, I guess, part comment, part question, but
Mhm.
you know, you've been talking about coastal areas in Florida, but I know that these same concepts are very relevant here. Like we had nutrient loading in the Animas River. That's part of the reason we got a new reclamation facility recently, is to reduce the amount of nutrients in the river. And I know like the Animas Valley up north of town was largely developed and turned into farmland and whatnot ever since the late 1800s with our mining industry. Do you think that there's opportunity locally, um, like maybe in the valley up north in the Animas? Do you think that was maybe at one point wetland or part of it, and could that be restored back to wetland eventually?
I think potentially yes. I think if we got the support and I don't know if we could bring the green team in to like talk about it, because I mean, the amount of area that has been taken away from the natural ecosystem is pretty sad. And I think there's potential for it. I know there's just a crap ton of support that we need. So yeah, in the back.
Is there anything on like a community and residential individual level that people could be doing to support this issue, kind of like mitigate it? Is there things like changes people can make in their everyday life to support this at all?
I don't want to like say anything wrong, but I feel like if you were to support MSI, or I mean our local green team, I mean, I think bringing it up in our community, like at city council meetings or things like where, hey, we want this to happen, and this could help our ecosystems, and this could help our culture. I think there's definitely some ways to reach out. Through, I don't have specifically, sorry, but yeah, I feel like MSI and Green Team, City Council, other projects. I mean, Southwest Conservation Corps, if we could get a project going with them, which would be really, really cool. So yeah, cool. Oh,
Do you think that there's any relationship to people using gray water from their house? Like watering plants outside, things so that the water is doesn't get to the storm drain?
so will you reword your question actually? Like,
Gray water is,
yeah.
you know what gray water
Mm-hmm.
is?
Yeah.
Just wondering if we were talking about what you could do individually at home, if the more sensibility of how you're using and wasting or using wastewater.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's part of this whole
Yeah. I think it is. I mean,
starts up there at the storm drain.
yeah. I think if we were able to like kind of refilter our water, and reuse it and not have to be able to dump it into our water systems, I think that would be pretty cool.